All right, we'll get to some football a little later. Nothing really, no big news today. I think yesterday we did a good job of kind of centering on Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, hell, Chris Spielman getting a call for the Jets. I think today the only news was Deshae Townsend, your DB coach.
The O-line coach also with the Seahawks for the offensive coordinator.
Oh, Hank Fraley?
Yeah.
Okay, so look, guys, this is the cost of being good. People are circling. But Deshae Townsend, that is San Francisco, D.C., correct?
Correct.
So we'll keep an eye on it. We hammered Lions conversation first 3 days of the week. We can get into it in the 5 o'clock a little bit with the kickoff to football fiesta. I want to ask one question, though. You know, new coach bump for the Wings as they beat the Senators 5 in a row. And the Pistons have a game they're favored against the Warriors tonight. They can get above 500. Mike, here's my question.
No, they are.
They are 19 and 18.
Yeah.
You're right. So here's my question. And I don't know if there's like this line of delineation, but what do you think it will take for either or both of these teams to enter the mindset of fans? Like, I just feel like the Lions have taken all the oxygen in the room, and maybe rightfully so. It's the NFL. We're on a Super Bowl quest. The easy answer for me is 2 weeks after whatever the Lions do or don't do is when people will emotionally, if they win the Super Bowl, it's going to be 2 weeks after the Super Bowl. If they lose, they don't make the Super Bowl. 2 weeks after whenever the Lions season ends.
The hangover's over.
The hangover ends, and fans have to get out of bed and look for a brighter day. What will it take, though? Because, again, the NBA has major problems. Mm-hmm. I am an NBA fan. Year by year, my interest goes down. The product is horrible. Mm-hmm. It is. I'm not mad at anyone if they don't watch. The NBA has major issues. Why? Unlike hockey, I can't guarantee the players are going to try every night. Hockey's issue is nobody knows the players, and they have a welfare network, and it's hard to watch. The average person isn't sitting down to watch puck for 3 hours. It's just no one knows what Corsi is. We joke about Fenwick.
I'm about to say Kenny's pregame cable access show.
Your boy Grubauer was on TV the other day, Mike.
Listen, I only know Grubauer as a horse.
Yes.
But my point is, Kenny, what do you think it will take? Like, for instance, you can rep the Wings.
Sure.
What would it take for the Wings to become a storyline locally?
So what I would say is the Four Nations face-off, the international tournament that they're doing this year in lieu of the All-Star break.
Oh, when is that? I won't be watching.
It is at the beginning of February. So what I think the answer to your question is put a good full month together. Put a month together of elevating yourself. You don't have to blow the world away. You just need to get into playoff contention. Do that. Be above 500 for a month. I think then you'll be like, this Wings team.
And when's the Nations Cup?
It starts February 12th.
God,
so
your league is clueless. So they start 3 days after the Super Bowl.
Yes.
You should start it 2 weeks before the Super Bowl because no one's going to be watching your sport anyways.
I agree. It's backwards.
All right, so we'll see the Wings in March is basically what you're telling me.
I'm saying we'll see the Wings in February.
Pistons, I wouldn't dare ask you.
No, I think for the Pistons, Mike.
I honestly think the Pistons, the only way they become a real story, if you care about like operating a business and generating revenue and ratings, April. No one watches the NBA regular season.
No, see, I think it's a little different. I think it's much along the line of what Kenny with the Wings is probably after the All-Star game. If the Pistons are sitting north of 500, the reason being you got Cade Cunningham, who's all of a sudden looking like he is a superstar. Like this is his team. He's saying he wants his own chapter in Detroit. He's trying to embrace the city. If after the NBA All-Star game, which is Sunday, February 16th, that's when they're sitting 3-4 games above 500, Cade is lighting it up, I think then you'll start seeing, because what will happen is you'll start seeing the playoff scenario and the play-in games and where they're at.
Here's what it is. Lightning bolt epiphany. Pistons have to make a trade. If the Pistons are featured as one of the teams that can acquire someone to put with Cade around that trade deadline, remember, the NBA trade deadline is still something that can be fun. But maybe that's what it is.
A trade?
That the Pistons would acquire a name that it would mark the actual investment in Cade Cunningham and not with teenagers, not with ill-prepared young players or NBA journeymen, some of which have helped you win. But Rico, in any piece you're watching with the NBA, and they're listing 6 teams, 8 teams, 10 teams to watch for the trade deadline, Pistons are one of them. So maybe in order to kind of re-engage the mindset of this town, it would have to be a trade. That holy hell, the Pistons just acquired X, and they're putting him with Cade. Wait, the Pistons are not selling, they're buying? I think that might bring people back. Because face it, everything that's happening now, unless you're a dullard or you're just willfully ignorant, you know why people aren't paying attention. They're not paying attention because the Lions dominate society.
Correct. And that's why I'm not going to say, oh, they should, because, look, man, we can only support one restaurant in this town. So asking them to look at more than one team is just too much to ask for people.
So
Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not.
Like, there's one hot restaurant, and we forget about all the other ones. Every other city, like, you can go to 5. I don't know what it is about Detroiters. It's when they lock in on something, that's it. That's it. It takes them over.
So it's interesting because you all say different things, but I think you're kind of it's going hand in hand. Because if they make a deal, which is February 6th is the NBA trade deadline, then I think they're getting talked about at the All-Star break, which is a week later. They're getting talked about by, Shaq and Charles, and saying, oh, the Pistons are actually a decent team. They're the 6th seed or the 5th seed or whatever it is, because they made a deal, and that will create the buzz.
So is it one of the big names, Mike? Is it Jimmy Butler? Is it Zion?
I don't know, man. I don't want to go down the
Bradley Beal?
Definitely not. He has no trade clause. No, I guess, Rico, to me, I don't even want to do the names. I think it's just something about there's a validation if you're a fan of a team, or let's say you're fringy, right? The amount of hardcore NBA fans you could fit in a thimble in the city of Detroit. If you want to engage mass appeal, it has to be, wait, the Pistons are being talked about positively at the deadline. We're not selling.
Yeah.
We just acquired who? I think it's, and again, I'm not copping out. I don't want to get into names.
No, I guess what I'm saying is, did it need to be like a household name or just a major trade? Like, wow, Zion would move the needle, because even fringe fans would be like, wait, Zion is coming to Detroit. Oh, my goodness, you pair him with Cade. But, yeah, you would know, like, yeah, is he going to play? But, 10 games a year? You're going to regret this.
Here's what's interesting. Did you see what Windhorst had to say?
No.
So, Brian Windhorst, on one of his 8 million NBA shows, he had made a point that they could make a big move, okay? He says this is now a team that could look to buy for itself and help themselves get into the playoffs, which is something that is very important in Detroit. He was going over their cap situation. He goes, JB Bickerstaff deserves a ton of credit. He's come in, young team. They were all over the place. He's come in, and they're guarding people, and they're respectable. So if they want to upgrade, here's why. No one can afford more than the Pistons. So this is their cap space, okay? So when Windhorst goes on to talk about it, they could go all in. I'm not saying they should, but they need a culture player. Now, it's different in hockey where the Wings are at with the cap, etc. The Pistons are in a marketplace where, think about being at a grocery store, and it doesn't matter the cost of apples. No one is there with you to buy the apples. They can't afford it. You don't care what the apples cost. You're the only guy in the grocery store. You pick whatever apple you want. That's kind of the situation the Pistons are in. A lot of the other teams are like, well, damn, we want apples. Can't afford it. So, I think to answer the question, for me, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a trade. It's going to take that pop. Holy hell, did you see on ESPN, they spent 20 minutes talking Pistons move. Breaking news sounder. Hey, this happened live on 97.1. And that's not a disrespect to the guys playing here. But I think if you want to get people actually interested, A, the Lions season has to end, and B, they need someone with Cade. Is that a cop-out on my part?
No. No, I think it would spark interest because then people would, I hate to say it, remember that they do play downtown.
You hit that bell for me. Yeah, that's right. Unless you're deluded, the average Detroiter doesn't realize we have an NBA team.